Hi everyone, my name is Mindy and I have the company Run with Digital. I do everything for the digital side of political campaigns. I can do other management as well. The digital aspect is just my favorite part. So in addition to having Run with Digital, I'm also commissioner with LA City Council for the Innovation Performance Commission. So we liaise back and forth between city departments to find innovative ways to enhance the city. And then I also teach digital analytics and Google Ads at UCLA, and I previously taught web design and design thinking with General Assembly. So a lot of teaching. I just really enjoy helping people get them to that aha moment of like, oh, this is how I do it. So these are just a small handful of campaigns that I have worked on recently over the past 10 or so years. And if all of that is not quite enough, I do have this awesome little guy. So someone calls me for help and I'm like, sorry, I'm watching Mickey Mouse right now, or gotta wait for nap time. It's this little dude right here. He's 5 and quite awesome. So we're going to get started on looking at the digital side of political campaigns. We're going to go over setting up your digital from day one. We're going to look at the potential email script for volunteers, fundraising, getting an event together. And we're going to look at some free and freemium resources. There's a lot of great tools out there that will help you save money and really get your campaign to that peak level through data and digital. The outcomes by the end of the session, you will be able to plan out your website with the help of a web programmer, set up your social media, set up an email campaign, and navigate some digital tools. And I'll have some projects for you at the end to get an email list together, to draft an email for volunteers, fundraising, and events, and planning your website. So the first part is our day one. So your job is to be the candidate. You need to meet folks still in a semi-COVID safe way and not as much handshaking and kissing babies as we used to do. You need to raise money. You need to beef up on issues for debates. You need to get endorsements. You do not need to learn how to code. You do not need to learn about user experience and web design techniques and all that stuff that I teach at my other classes. I'm not teaching you how to build the website, but it's like it's going to go over the basics of what goes into the website and web planning so that you are on the same page as whoever you hire. So I have a few examples of websites, and let me just see something real fast with my layout. Okay, so I have a few examples with websites. First, I have Katie Hill. If you remember her, unfortunately, she had the sleazy ex-husband who sent unfortunate pictures with her. But her website, there's nothing too snazzy about it. It's not super polished. She has the appropriate content up there, but it doesn't have that overall polished look. If you look to another Katie Porter is just my political crush. I gotta say, she's amazing. Her website's definitely a bit more polished. You have everything at the top that you need. There's just cool video going on. You immediately get to donations. You have a very, very brief meet Katie. It's not even a paragraph. It is a sentence, and you immediately know what's up without it taking over too much of the website. And you have some cute pictures of her, being powerful in meetings with her family. And then you get to some endorsement quotes about her. And once again, there's another menu. So everything is pretty much there. It's great. You're not looking for whatever it is. Another candidate, by the way, if you want to see an old website that doesn't exist anymore, you just look for this Wayback Machine, web.archive.org, and you put in the website. Her website is not up anymore. What I really like about what she has, if you go to join the team and the digital toolkit, and it's going to take a second. There it goes. It has a bunch of assets for your friends and volunteers to just grab, so that you don't need to constantly email back and forth. Social media memes, flyers, get involved with a phone bank or a yard sign. Now, yard signs don't vote, but people really like having yard signs to show their support. And so to have these digital assets, I think it's a great feature to have on a website. In Orange County, there's a group called WAVE. I don't remember what it stands for. Women, oh here, Women for American Values and Ethics. It is left-leaning, but they do endorse independent candidates as well. And they had an event back in 2019, so pre-pandemic. And they're like, we want a website. It was kind of difficult working with it. They make it look like our flyer. So boom, have it look like the flyer. And then I had a candidate for a judicial seat, was like, that's a cool website, make it my website. So this was a very last minute put together. There's about a month before the campaign. She wasn't fundraising. She did everything on it. Was self-funded. I think she had about $20,000 or $30,000. And luckily we won. She had about 10,000 endorsements, which is quite amazing. And so you have everything right there. Here's another example that I like, just because of, you have the website and all the content, or actually not all the content, but you immediately on the right have get involved and donate. And so just those are things that you don't want your you don't want the people looking at your website having to figure out too much. So having this right here just makes it easily available. So let's go back to the presentation. So on average, you have only 7 seconds to help someone find what they're looking for. So I'm just trying to arrange my my setup a little better so I can see everything on my screen. So on average, you have about 7 seconds. So like I said, you don't want people to spend a time trying to figure out what's what. So what you need, you want to have your election information. So if it's a primary, general, what district and office, very, very important. For judicial seats, for example, that's not something that voters really know about. And so if you're running for judge, you want it to be like, boom, I'm running for seat 30 right there, so that people don't have to look around and figure out what's up. You want to have your donate button, like think back to Scott's website. You want it right there, something on the top. If there's a side panel, have it on the side. You want to have a meet the candidate section. Think of something like Katie's. It was so small and to the point. You're not overwhelmed with this blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, I got it, and I'm going to run on to the next piece. You want to have a volunteer sign up. You want to make it easy for potential volunteers to sign up. Let's see. And you want to have, you want to have contact info. You want to make it easy for the voters to get a hold of the campaign. Some might want to volunteer. There might be someone who wants to write an article on you. So you want to have all the information immediately right there. You want to have your issues. Now, if you're running for judge, there's not really issues. You're just justice, equality. But you want, if you're running for, let's say, assembly, there are issues. If you're running for Congress, there are issues. You want to have events. So let folks know where you're going to be speaking at. It can be debates, it can be fundraisers, different kind of speaking events. Now, some people might say, if you don't have anything coming up, it looks, you look empty to have that section on your website. But you can also have it saying, sign up for when we do have events, or here's a link to everything we did in the past. Like, you don't have to appear empty. There are other ways to get around it, but you do want to know, you do want to let folks know what's up. You want to have a section for news. This is typically so-and-so was just endorsed by this club, by this elected official, that kind of stuff. If you can happen to generate press otherwise to get in the news for other things, that's awesome. You're going to want to have that as well. Some of my judicial candidates have been in the news for awesome cases that they tried. And so that would be very worthy of going onto the website. Your endorsements, you want to keep a list of who endorsed you. Now, if you only have 2 endorsements, I know you're thinking, well, I'm just starting out, and that's great, but you don't want to look like only 2 people endorsed you. And again, this is up for debate. I personally would wait for at least 10 endorsements so that you don't look empty. Now I'm right now thinking of my judicial candidates, because there are literally hundreds and hundreds of judges to get endorsements from. If you have an endorsement from a club, from a union, that's different. I would put those up immediately. A digital toolkit, like I showed you from Elena's website, is a great idea. Just it'll include all your digital assets. It'll make it easier for people who want to help you out. And images, you want good headshots, you know, with you standing with others, looking, you know, like a leader. You have the arms crossed and leaning on a desk and all those different poses. You want to have good images if you're looking like a leader, if you're working with the community, if you have a family and you're not bothered. My prosecutors don't want to have pictures with their kids, and I totally understand 100%. If you aren't prosecuting gang members who you're afraid of, then yeah, absolutely use your family. So there's a great book. It's called Don't Make Me Think. It's about user experience, and you don't have to read it, but just think about the title. Don't make me think. You don't ever want to make potential voters think. You don't want to make them have to look. You don't want to make endorsers and donors have to look. You want everything to be right there. So I was trying to get this going.
Michelle. Mindy, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Go for it.
I made you a host instead of a co-host, so you're going to be getting notices of people wanting to be admitted.
Oh, I don't think I saw any yet.
I don't think so either, but I just wanted to give you a heads up, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. No worries. Yeah, I don't think I saw any quite yet, so hopefully we're good on that. So I have a list of just potential URLs. If you guys want to, if you ladies want to take a minute to look at them and think about what you feel is good, what you feel is bad. What do you think about the first one? Mindy for 22ndassembly.com. Just shout it out. I don't need to do hands or anything like that.
So every one of our candidates are local. There's a school board, there's a city council, and there's a mayor. So no one is at the state or federal level or judges.
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is just more of in general. So you could also look, elect Mindy versus Mindy for California versus California for Mindy. And the California for Mindy seems a little narcissistic. It could be Orange County for Mindy, Irvine for Mindy versus Mindy for Irvine. That's, I want to help Irvine versus what can Irvine do for me. So it's just something to, think about. You can also have, vote for Mindy, Mindy for Orange County, Mindy for Irvine, Mindy for mayor. I would put less emphasis on spelling out an entire thing, city council district number 3 versus, Mindy for the city. Just try to simplify it and have it how you are for the area rather than what the area can do for you. And if you haven't registered yet, you can go to GoDaddy, you can go to Ionis, I think Cheat Names or Namecheap.com, any of those, just search for whatever domains you like and see what is available. So looking at a website, Alexa, stop. Sorry. Looking at the website, there are several options. There's a content management system, CMSs. They're great because they allow you to pull data from everywhere. So if you create a new blog piece, the blog will automatically flow into your main website. Now, when I say
Can I ask a
blog, it
question?
can be a news piece, it can be an event, it can be a blog. But if you type it here, it'll show up there, which is amazing. And we're going to go through a few different content management systems to give you an idea of the differences. Yeah, Brenda. Muted.
I wanted to go back to your previous slide, if you don't mind. No, that before that one. That one. So I'm assuming, and don't get me wrong, I'm assuming that the first website is a bad website. Is okay, is that correct?
I would stay away from something that long. First of all, it's just a lot to type. It's a lot to get wrong.
Okay.
It's very specific. A lot of people kind of get addicted to running for office. And so if you pin down to 22nd assembly, that means that you can't really do city council next. I mean, you can, it's just changing the website takes away from your SEO and messes with that a little. I would do more focus for assembly. If the assembly district happens to be all in one location, I know that some might spread through various cities in Orange County and even through Orange County and LA or Orange County and Riverside. So if you can get away with saying for the city rather than 22nd assembly, I would. If you want to say just for assembly, that's not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah. What is it that you're running for or thinking of running for?
Well, I'm running for mayor now, but I noticed that she put the numbers in there. I ran for city council, don't get me wrong. And my website
So
is
it's addictive.
Yeah. And it's crazy because there was two Brendas running from the same ward. Well, two Brendas running for the same city council, not same ward.
Which city are you looking for mayor?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, and you're coming down here in OC. That's awesome.
Oh, no, I'm just taking the training. I am staying in Minneapolis, but I'm just trying to, and the crazy part about it is, I was debating on changing my website because my website is currently up and it's already paid for, but I'm debating because I went through another training where if you sign up that you're a Democrat through the Democratic Party, they give you a free website. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to let go of the website I have because it's already got most of my information on, and then I have to transfer everything. But I was looking at the way you had this, because like my website is set up like Brenda 4, the number 4, ward, the word ward, and 9 at .com.
Yeah.
And I know it's addicting because every election, everybody else does it. So I was like, okay, maybe it's a bad thing that I do this. And you didn't elaborate why it was a bad thing. Is it a bad thing because it's long?
I mean, so because of it's long is one of them.
Okay.
You do develop SEO with keeping your website, with having a website longer. And so, I mean, ideally, the first time you run, you're going to win and you don't have to worry about the next office and generating the SEO. But if you have it, elect Brenda Short, vote for Brenda Short, Brenda for Minneapolis, and it can be used all over, you will develop that great SEO. We should talk later just because I'll tell you, my family's from Minnesota, my heart's in Minnesota. So my grandma went to North Minneapolis. Like, I'll get you contact information and we'll talk more about like what we can do. But definitely you want a shorter, more concise, to the point URL. Because if I messed up typing it twice, I would just assume like, all right, the website's not there, or whatever. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. So you do want a shorter, more concise website.
Okay. Thank you for answering that question.
But we'll still sync up and get contact information.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so for the CMS, possible CMS systems would be Nation Builder, WordPress, Wix, GoDaddy, Web Builder. There's just a ton. There's a ton more. These are the big names. And then there's hard code HTML. I personally like it as a coder because I could put everything precisely where I want it. But if you're not a programmer, it's miserable. So for WordPress, it was originally designed for blogging. And then there's just so many fantastic templates, whether paid or free, that can make it a beautiful political website. It can make it a beautiful news website. Like, you never know looking at a website that it's WordPress. It just looks awesome. The designer will have to be well versed in HTML and CSS, but it's a very seamless process to put together. You have plugins for forms, polls, social media events, and whatnot. There's not a ton of tech support on it, but there's support of the world for how do I modify this for WordPress. You know, find a WordPress group on Facebook and you'll get 10,000 answers. And maybe I speak in hyperbole, there's thousands of possibilities. For using Squarespace, Wix, and GoDaddy, it's kind of a drag and drop kind of feature. So they'll have like a box on the side of like, here's a picture, here's a paragraph, here's, I don't know, a form, and you literally drag it to where you want. Is minimal coding. It looks less polished than, say, WordPress. There's less add-ons. There is company tech support, but overall, it's just not that polished of a look. And there is a minimal learning curve. So I've seen a lot of candidates just decide, okay, I'm going to do something on Wix by myself. And they do it. They technically can do it. They drag everything to where they need it to be, and it works. And if you looked at Katie Hill's website, it's possible to win while having a not so polished website. It just depends on how much effort you want to and can put into it. Next up, we have Nation Builder. There is a huge learning curve. There's an additional programming language. It typically looks very polished as long as the person learns the language well. You get a ton of tech support. It integrates with your database, and this is awesome. So if you have your entire voting database, you know who's going to your website, you know who's doing what on your Facebook page. So this involves your volunteers. You can tag your volunteers, your donors, your social media voter contact emails. So you can send out emails from Nation Builder to your voter database. If you have events and whatnot and people respond to it, it gets tagged in your Nation Builder database. They do everything on your website. There's no extra fees. It also includes donations with Stripe. There's so many great inclusions. It is a huge learning curve, and it's not cheap. Overall, if I'm going to look at, comparison chart of what will be best, I have, happy faces, sad faces, and maybe it's not so bad. These two would be my top choice, WordPress and Nation Builder. I'm going to lean more towards WordPress just because it's less programmatically and less money. There are other content management systems out there. Some specifically are for political websites. Some cost a lot more than others. But overall, when you compare everything, I'm going to say WordPress and Nation Builder, just depending on your funds and what you can get done. So next, we're going to look at, for digital setup, we're going to look at social media, specifically cleaning your social media. So before you even begin to start on your new social media campaign, you want to clean up your past. You don't want to spend your entire political campaign running from something stupid. I forgot to add this. I just remembered right now. So I was looking through the LA judicial candidates a few weeks ago, and someone posted on Facebook, I just want to thank whoever went through my social media and sent screenshots to the press. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I cannot believe someone actually do that. I am confident I know the consultant who did it. That person is a snake. People will do it. If you have anything in your past, people will do it. And so you do not want to be running from something that you did in the past. not everyone is perfect. You know, we may have been frustrated at a coworker 10 years ago, or someone cut us off on traffic, and you said something stupid back in 2012 that you don't mean now. And it's okay. We all have a past. I was a dumb college kid at one point. It happens, but you want to clean it up. Maybe there's something that you thought was funny. Maybe you said something that you thought was funny, you thought was innocent, but maybe others would be offended by. I had a candidate who, I keep on forgetting the name of this TV show, the one with dragons and winter is coming. Does that make sense to any of you? Game of Thrones, that's it. And she commented, now first of all, I don't watch that, I don't watch shows with dragons, but she commented, there's a lot of female nudity on this show, and she commented on Twitter like, can't we get some male nudity? It was a joke. I personally see nothing wrong with it. Emily's List had endorsed this candidate, and they told her, you know what, you need to get rid of that post. Luckily, no one else came after her for it, but it's just something that it shouldn't have been a big deal, but it was. So one method that I use for cleaning up past, I have this program called Phantom Buster. And basically background, Twitter and Facebook, they load 10 posts at a time. So if you want to go through everything that you posted in the past 15 years, it's overwhelmingly difficult. You just can't do it. You can't keep scrolling down and down and down. So what this Phantom Buster does is it'll scrape the entire social media history. What that means is it will dig everything that you ever posted. It'll say when you posted it, it'll say what you said, the time, the date, all that jazz. So I did this to myself just to see what I've said. And I've said a lot of stupid stuff. I'm a very snarky kind of person. I'll admit that to you. And I'm very opinionated with my sports. If you can see above, I'm a sad Bruin right now. My Bruins lost last night. But this is something that I posted March 22nd. I can't see the year, but I'm going to say it was like early 2000s that I posted what it was. And so you can't even see what the symbols are. So I had to do a search in Twitter to see what it was that I posted. And this is what I posted. It was 2015. And for anyone in LA, it's kind of funny. If I was running for our city council in LA, that has to be deleted. Absolutely has to be deleted. You cannot talk about another team that way, another LA team that way. I'm pretty sure I kept it just because I'm very opinionated about my teams. So you can use this Phantom Buster. Not only can you use it on yourself, you can use it on your opponents. Keep that in mind. User research. For this person who said, I like to thank someone who, screenshotted my social media. I don't know what method the person did. This person actually didn't have a lot of social media history. The Twitter history had like a total of 20 posts. So it's really easy to go through. But if you're running against someone who, posts like they're 20 years old, they're going to have a lot of posts. They're going to have 20 posts a day. And you're going to want something like this to dig through and see what they did. It's a free program, by the way. Another way you can clean up your background, in addition to using this Phantom Buster, is I have set up on Facebook to tell me my memories, my daily memories. I only blocked this out. There's no one crazy in here. I just didn't want to put my friends on blast. Back in 2010, a fire alarm went off in my office building. We were outside for hours. There's a Fridays across the street, and I posted something silly about day drinking. It seemed very funny and innocent at the time. Drinking should never be glorified. And without context, it's kind of irresponsible to post about day drinking. And so it came up in my memories and I deleted it. So if you set this up, if you have your Facebook memories coming to you, it makes it a little easier. You do have to wait day by day to see the memories, but it makes it easier. I saw another one come up the other day that said something along the lines, I don't think that people should get paid with tax dollars without doing work. And that sounds awful with zero context. I am 100% confident that Congress wasn't doing something. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if there was a furlough, if there's like a government furlough going on at the time. Without context, if someone looks through my post from 10 years ago, that looks beyond awful. It looks like I'm very, very Republican, saying like, don't get paid with tax dollars. That's not at all what I meant. And that's something that I had to delete because I don't want that getting out there because that's not what I meant. So just think about that kind of thing. Look at everything in context, make sure it's all clean. So when you're cleaning up, some people question, should I delete or just do a fresh start? You don't want to lose your family history. If you have, kids that you posted pictures with, you don't want to lose that because you want to show like, I'm a family person. For almost any office, you want to be able to say, I love kids. If there might be positive stuff about you doing stuff for the community, whether it's protest or community activism, painting the sidewalks, I don't know, doing something good. You don't want to lose that. So that's basically all for cleaning up your history. Any questions before we move on? Go for it. You're muted.
I have, what is it? Is it bad if I have my political Facebook page separate from my personal Facebook page? I have 4 Facebook pages and I'll explain why.
So, well, first of all, you should have Facebook page and Facebook account.
I have 4 Facebook accounts. I'm sorry. My pages, I have 2 pages, but my accounts, I have 4 different Facebook accounts because when Facebook first came out, I have an account because I worked high in Best Buy corporate and they made us get a Facebook because back then you had to be invited originally. So I have that Facebook account, which I don't have control over, Best Buy does. But I have my personal account and then I had a business account, Facebook account. And then now I have my public running for office account. Now they told us that we should have a different, your personal account and make it all private, which it is. You can't find me. My person, unless you are related to me and you're already one of my friends, you can't find me. But you can always find my Best Buy account because that's a public one and my now political one. Is that bad to have?
Yeah. So I would ignore what happened with Best Buy. And if people are all like, yo, you're weird, you have 3 sites. Like back then, there were a lot of, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. You're kind of handcuffed into what you can do on Facebook 15 years ago. They didn't even have pages. It was just your account. So I remember like super long time ago, I wanted to have something like a page for this company I was working at. Page didn't exist. So I had to create a fake person and have people be friends with this fake person. So anything that you did like 15 years ago, I wouldn't be too worried about. Don't have an account for your dog. I could say that much because I had a client who had an account for her dog and her dog wanted to be friends with me and I would have Facebook memories with the dog. I'm like, dude, no. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about what happened forever ago. Like there's stuff that you can't control it. And if people can't find one of your accounts, then again, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Just for the sake of moving forward, keep it separate. I don't feel there's a need to have a campaign account versus your personal account. I would have a campaign page and people will like your page. But I wouldn't have people become friends with candidate you versus people friends with person you, because that's the whole purpose of the page. So I would just try to keep it into the segments that they have finally created. They weren't available 15 years ago, but they're available now. And so I would try to keep it segmented in terms of how Facebook has it, and not do anything beyond that. So setting up, you do want to be consistent with your handles. It's not always possible. I tried to get a Facebook page for my company and it was run with digital, and someone not only do they have it, they don't even use it. I'm so annoyed. They haven't used it since like 2015. I even tried contacting them and I'm like, dude, I'll pay you $100. They never got back to me. You can't always be consistent with your handles, but whenever you can, you want to. And again, you want it different from your personal account. For example, Twitter, you might want your personal Twitter when you're talking about, I don't know, recipes and what TV shows you like. I would go on and on about my sports teams on my personal Twitter, and then your campaign account, which you're talking about issues that are relevant to the community within that you're running. You want to use your logo, your headshot, your all that jazz. Your headshot would be, for the little circle. Your logo would be the banner. Let's see. So the accounts that you're going to want be the obvious ones are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. And they all have their own different individualized needs. You're going to use Instagram not so much for saying, hey, here's this important news thing that's going on. You're going to do that to show you out in the community, make it look cool with a nice filter maybe. Facebook is going to be more about getting people together. So everything has their own purpose. But what are about other social medias? You can have Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, Clubhouse. It's important to use each social media, not just for their intended purpose, but also naturally. So when I think of TikTok, I think of my 13-year-old cousin doing the floss all the time. I'm like, dude, you're on that way too much for a 13-year-old. You are not going to be on TikTok doing the floss, but there are other natural ways how you can use it. You can create a 20-second video about something important to the community, whether it's a social issue, a legal issue, anything really that you want going on. If you want to explain something that's going on, if you're big into sports, about this whole name, image, likeness thing going on, where suddenly athletes in certain states are actually allowed to get paid for their face and their name, which college and high school athletes weren't allowed to do recently. So if you follow March Madness, last week, there's a situation where the ball got stuck and no one was tall enough to get the ball down. And so a cheerleader actually was launched up to get the ball down. And that cheerleader is now getting a deal off of this. And so if you want to do a 15-second video explaining really fast, like, hey, look at this, she's getting money because of it. Or St. Peter's, one of the players just signed up with Buffalo Wild Wings, 15-20-second video on how fortunate we are that we finally get to have this. I don't know if Minnesota is a part of NIL. I know that California is. And so maybe be like, hey, it's unfortunate that Minnesota players can't get this. We need this for our state. Make it natural, make it relevant to what you're doing. Don't go on TikTok doing the floss and expect people to vote for you. So I want to show you. So here's Bernie Sanders at the bottom. You have his social medias, the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, but he has other platforms as well. He's just not putting them on the website. Does it come up? Let's see. So here he has Twitch. If you don't know about Twitch, people watch each other play video games. I personally don't understand. I think it's weird. I'll tell you, my family loves video games, but I would never sit and watch someone else put up a video of them playing a video game. But Bernie Sanders has this account. He has this 162,000 followers, which is not nearly close to the 15 million he has on Twitter. But let's look at how he's using it. So this is his YouTube, some videos he has on YouTube. And if you look closely, you'll see that it's actually the same video. He has solidarity with Amazon workers, solidarity with Amazon workers. For his YouTube videos, it says we must end starvation, wages for tip employees, and he has it over here. So all he's doing, he's not like saying, hey, look, I got the new Kirby game today. He is actually just using it as another platform to host his videos, just to get a few more eyes on what's going on. So would you considering how you're going to use all all the various social media platforms. Don't try to do everything with how everyone's using it. Don't look all crazy. Don't try to make yourself a 13-year-old doing the floss. Use it naturally to yourself. Don't make yourself look stupid, and put it all, you could just use it as a different platform to host your videos. So Facebook is the main one that we're going to focus on. I'm just going to quickly go through the steps to set up your page. And I also have a guide on getting approved for the ads library. There's a lot of steps, and you're going to want to do it immediately. So if you go to facebook.com/pages, you're going to create a new page, and you're going to fill out the information, Mindy for Las Vegas, Mindy for Orange County, Mindy for Minneapolis, whatever. Political candidate, welcome to my campaign page. I am awesome, blah, blah, blah. You're going to set that up. Here's all the things you're going to look at. You're going to want your logo up here for the cover photo. This little circle, you're going to want your profile headshot. This is your handle, your @ handle. This is the one that you want it to be consistent amongst all platforms if you can. If you can't, I totally get it. Try to make it consistent. And then you have your call to action button. Now here's all the possibilities for call to action. Send message is the most common. There's just a few others that you might want to consider. Follow, contact us, send message, email, sign up. Obviously, you're not going to do play game, watch video, get a quote, anything like that. But here are some other options to get people involved somehow. And again, think back to the UX book, Don't Make Me Think. You want to have everything up there as clear as possible. You don't want people looking for information. I can't stand it when I go to a campaign page and I can't find anything. So you're going to want the phone number, your email, and your website at the very least. So posting, so you do want to stay frequent, 2 to 3 times a week. You want to remind supporters and voters that you're active. If you just really can't find anything to post that particular week, look to see if it's one of those like hashtag days. Every day has a hashtag. Last week, there was National Puppy Day. So if you had just a dry week, like, dude, I don't have any content, find a cute dog, hashtag Happy Puppy Day. Just stay up there. You do want to try to have stuff relevant to your campaign, but worst case scenario, just continue to stay active. The hashtag days are great for just getting more people to follow. You can have press releases, events, endorsements, relevant news, engage. You want to try to get people to comment. And statements with questions. So back during the stimulus check, I was telling candidates to end stuff with like, how does the stimulus check help you? What are ways you've saved during the pandemic? How have you helped kids cope with the pandemic? When you end stuff with a question, it'll get people engaged. When my friend comments on a page, I then see that my friend commented on that page. And it potentially will get me involved with that page. So when you end stuff in questions, it gets people engaged, and it potentially gets more people aware of your presence. So you don't want to use the same post and the same wording for every single platform. Remember that different platforms have different purposes. They have different character allotments. And also not everyone has the same handle. So you're not gonna just copy and paste. You want to make sure that everything is relevant to that particular platform. You do want to tag people. So if you got endorsed by a particular club, don't just say the name, but tag them, because then the club will be included. Their members or followers will see that you tag them. It'll allow for a greater following when you tag people. And then finally, we have social media ambassadors. And this is something that I really, really love to have. You can only do so much with your followers and whoever liked your page. But the greatest kind of marketing is word of mouth. So if one of my friends says, I trust my friends are very political, and if they say, here are the 5 people to vote for, I'm going to listen to them. And so if you have your social media ambassadors who can say, this is my friend running for office, here's a meme about my friend running for office, here's a statement on something from my friend running for office, you're then getting free advertisement to their 500 friends. And if you have 10 of your friends doing this, you're getting free advertisement to 5,000 people. So you want to get your friends involved as social media ambassadors so that they can kind of spread the gospel about how awesome you are. So you have to look at Facebook and Instagram ads. There are many steps involved with the process. You want to set this up 2 to 4 weeks before you want to start. Honestly, you probably should just do it all today. You're going to set up a business account with Facebook, business.facebook.com. And then after you go through all of those steps, you want to become authorized to run political ads, which is a whole separate category. So facebook.com/ID. And they're going to send you information in the mail about verifying that you're really you and not someone based in Russia. So they're going to send something to your home address. It could take a week, even longer. Then you're going to then send that, post that number back into Facebook, and it finally will be set up. So maybe you want to do it tonight. So I know that was really fast. We're going to step over to email and marketing. If there's like, let's see, we have until 11:45, right? So if there's a couple questions, anyone has real fast about what we just covered before we hop over to email and marketing. Yeah, go for it.
My question is, you said, and it's about the last part you talked about, is about, Lord, I can't think, how Facebook, how you can register to promote as someone running for elections, because that was the only thing I had problems with once my page was, it was flagged because it was a campaign.
I'm sorry, can you phrase that again?
Okay, so I know I have my political page, that is fine, but sorry, but Facebook wouldn't allow me to run ads on Facebook because of some campaign law.
Yeah.
And is that still standing, or has that been reversed?
It's still standing, and they're enforcing it more and more. And so
Okay.
that's why you need to get approved as all of this. So you need to have your filing information. If you have like an ID, I don't know what the program is called in Minnesota, but if there's a state registered ID number and all that, and you'll go to this facebook.com/ID. You'll fill out all the information, and you'll get approved as a political candidate.
Okay.
And once you do that, you will be allowed to run ads. And they're tight about that. I wanted to promote my business to people running for office. So it gives the impression, technically what I do is involved in politics, but I'm not trying to influence a vote. And I initially was flagged, and I had to go back and forth with some people and be like, I am not influencing people how to vote. I am looking for candidates running for office so that they can then use my services. Nothing at all about what I was advertising was saying vote this way, but it gave that impression. So they are very, very strict with that, and you should be able to just go through those steps to get approved.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Mindy.
Yeah.
Jessica is trying to get in. Do you have a notice?
I don't.
Can I do one thing while you're taking questions?
Yeah.
Unhost you, then put you in as a co-host.
Oh, wait. Admit. Boom.
Dig it. All right.
Cool. Welcome, Jessica.
Gracias.
De nada. So, all right. So let's move on to email marketing. Were there any other questions? Oh, Catherine?
Hi, I've got one question. This is back to the topic of cleaning up your data act. Does Phantom Buster pick up retweets or posts that you've shared on Instagram or Facebook? Or is
Yeah,
it
so
just,
there are separate models for each platform. So for
Okay.
Twitter, it'll only look at Twitter. And so you're looking to see if someone retweeted you or stuff that you retweeted.
stuff that you've retweeted or
Yeah.
shared? Say if it's something that's controversial.
Anything that came from your account, whether directly or that you retweeted, the Phantom Buster will pick up.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Cool. Yeah, Karen.
Well, I just wanted to say this, take your time. Because what we are doing after this is going to lunch. So you don't need to race. Take your time. This is excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent,
Awesome.
excellent.
So down the road, you will likely have a fundraiser, comms team, campaign director, marketing team, all of that to handle this. But for right now, we're going to bootstrap your outreach. So let's look over at an email script rubric. You want to have an interesting subject line. You wanted something unique, something that you don't see in every single subject line. You want to feel that the email is personalized. So you would maybe, dear Mindy, we need support from Irvine. Both my name and my city are fields in any database program that can populate. So it'll say, dear name, we need support from city. And then as it sends out to each individual person, the database will fill in the name and the city. So I'm not personalizing every single email, but the recipient feels that it's personalized. My mom still thinks that every single email she gets is personalized. She still doesn't understand that, like, dude, no, like these people don't know who you are. You want the content to be easy to understand. You want the reader to immediately know what the email is about. It also needs to be engaging and, again, unique. You don't want it to be the same email over and over. You want there to be one clear ask in the email. So you're not saying, hey, why don't you come to this event? And in addition to paying for the event, can you also do a regular donation? Can you also sign up to volunteer for these 10 different activities? And can you also put up a yard sign? That's too much. You want the users to immediately know what is being asked of them. And the ask needs to be engaging. It needs to be easy to act on that ask. You want clear links with multiple opportunities to click. So you're not just going to put, it's one ask, but you're not going to put it only one time. You're going to have, possibly 2 links and maybe also a button that all do the same things. But some people respond better to links. Some people respond better to buttons. Some people, if there's only one link, they might somehow miss it. So you just want to give them multiple opportunities. And of course, you want to make sure your grammar and spelling is correct. And finally, you want to have it visually impactful. So space out the paragraphs, keep the paragraphs short. You don't want some lengthy diatribe about your family history of gonorrhea or something. Like, you just want to keep it very short and simple, and use bullets. Bullets, the mind thinks in bullets. And so it'll make it easier to understand and grasp what you're talking about. So here's a sample email names that fill this blank. So background of the sample email: I love anything Marvel. Agent Carter was an amazing show a few years ago. Peggy Carter was Captain America's girlfriend back in the 40s. If you don't know that, it's very important to my life. So I did a sample email as if I were Peggy Carter running for office. Hi, my name is Peggy Carter, and I'm running to represent New York's 5th Congressional District. The needs of the 5th District's citizens have been ignored for too long. When elected, I will make sure your voices are heard in our nation's capital. I spent 15 years at Stark Industries fighting threats both domestic and abroad. When Hydra killed Steve Rogers, I decided enough was enough. I must be involved where decisions are made. I believe my experience as a secret agent and my passion for justice will get Congress into shape. Name. If you want a leader who will fight Hydra abroad and traitors at home, please donate $5 to my campaign. When elected, I will fight these threats equally and guarantee your children's safety at home. I'll prioritize bullets, equality for women serving in our great country, expansion of resources to New York, education for underserved communities. But it all starts with a single donation. $10 can pay for us to reach 220 voters in city. Donate now. And so it is personalized. I have name and a personalized location. So I'm like, oh, this is directly to me, and they want to help my very specific community within the 5th congressional district. I use bullets because it's very visually impactful. I have multiple opportunities with the links and the button. Let's see, it's a very compelling story. You know, I spent 15 years at Stark Industry. Who doesn't want someone, you know, who's a secret spy agent at Stark Industry who was in love with Captain America? Like, that's very compelling. So you want to think about this when creating your email, whether it's an email for donations, an email to get someone to go to an event, an email to get someone to volunteer for an activity. You want to think about this layout. And while I will point out one mistake that I have on here is the first link says donate $5 to my campaign. The second link says $10 can pay for X. You kind of want to keep that parallel to each other. It should only be one amount. But what's good about this, and I should add a point for this, is that $10 can pay to reach 220 voters. I know exactly what's going to happen with that $10. I know exactly what's going to happen, and it's believable. They're not saying $10 will help me win. It's not saying $10, or it's not saying $10 will make me win. It's not saying $10 will help drive 10,000 people to the polls. It's very believable. It'll help us reach 220 voters. How are we going to do that? It might be phones, it might be walk lists, it might be paying for pizza for volunteers, but it's a very believable connection to what the money can pay for. So does anyone have a question about this? No questions. Cool. So this is one of the things that later on, you're going to have homework. I'm not going to grade it, but you guys, you ladies, are going to create your own email for whatever you have going on. So marketing, we're now going to look at ads. So this is just a very small layout of how banner ads will look. You can have a nice vertical one along the side of an article, maybe horizontal on top, a little square. They're graphical images in a website. Ads should be targeted to voters based on parameters that the marketer sets up. I wouldn't go to someone who just does all ads. I would only go to someone who sends ads to registered voters, because you don't want to spend money sending ads to someone who doesn't care about elections. I just did a test for a couple of my clients. It was a small test to see what ads work best. I had 8 different demographics based on race, gender, leans left, leans right. And I ran tests of just the people who have a likelihood, 70% or higher likelihood of voting in the next election. So I know what ads work well with which demographic for the people who are going to vote. And then down the road, I'm going to send the ads to people who have probably 50% or higher likelihood of voting. You do not want to spend money on someone who's not going to vote. So some ad examples. So this is where I make the biggest impact for a race. I ran a race in 2020. We spent under $30,000 for all voters of Los Angeles. So Los Angeles has 10 million residents, 4 million registered voters. Our opponent reported $550,000. We won. Spent $30,000 compared to $550,000, and we won. The way I do that is I create the connection between the voter and the candidate. So you see up here, Sherry Powell was endorsed by the Stonewall Democrats. And so that was an ad that I sent out to people who support LGBTQ issues on Facebook. So Facebook had tagged them as involved with Stonewall, GLAAD, the various Pride magazines, anything like that. and the ads only went to those people. I didn't spend time wasting sending these particular ads to someone who isn't really interested in these issues. Scott Yang for judge, he was endorsed by LA County Police, peace officers, so sheriffs, cops, whatnot. It doesn't really hit well with a lot of Democrats, especially the super left-leaning Democrats, but it hits really well. First of all, the judicial seat in California is nonpartisan, so we can go after Republican votes. So this is an ad that I would focus to the Republicans, and I would focus to gun owners. I would focus to people who love cops, who are cops. And I'm not going to spend time showing this ad to people who love Bernie Sanders. And so when people see this, they're like, oh, wait, I also support peace officers. Therefore, I'm going to vote for that person. This picture, this cute little squishy baby, I can tell you as a mom, if I see a squishy baby, I'm voting for that person. That baby is just really cute. It's not her baby, the candidate's baby. This obviously isn't Sherry Powell. This is the dude back here. I think it's her brother. I think the kid is her nephew. I don't know, but this is an ad that I sent to parents. And so this is where I make the biggest impact. In addition to the testing, the different ads, the different demographics, to know which ad works best with white people, which style of ad did the Hispanic community like best. Doing the various segments in testing, I know exactly what ad to send to what person to maximize the attention so that each community will see us and will react with positivity. This is fun for me. This is my favorite part. I can go on and on about that sort of stuff and the recent ads that I just ran. It was a really fun project. I'm really excited to see how the election continues. So I'm going to give some estimates based on the 2020 cycle. Estimates, it can cost a pinch more. At this point in time, this is just based off of what happened in 2020. The banner ads only go to registered voters. I can send to non-registered voters if I want. Maybe it's a register to vote campaign, but for my purposes, I don't have that. So for $1,000, you'll get roughly 140,000 impressions to registered voters. Facebook and Instagram for $1,000, again, it's about 140,000 impressions. Now, they don't have people tagged as registered voters, but they do. You can insert an email list and send it to your email list of registered voters. Yeah, Karen? You're muted.
Never mind, you're answering my question.
glad I can answer it. Yeah, so you can insert an email list to either one of these. You could say these are the, 5,000 people I want to send ads to if you want. Facebook and Instagram also has categories such as, politically involved, left-leaning, politically involved, right-leaning, likes Trump, hates Trump, likes Fox News, likes CNN, and you can narrow it down that way as well. Google search for $1,000, you get about 7,200 impressions. I initially did a lot with Google search. I am going further and further away from Google. I feel like they recently put restrictions on what you can do with politics. Also, you can't narrow down who you send ads to. You can't do it. If you want to do it to your own database, you need to have already spent, I think, like $40,000. So it's just not, really worthwhile for a candidate to do it. I put it up there so you guys have the awareness. It's just not worth it. And then video for $1,000, roughly 27,000 impressions. The video would be like a 15 or 30-second video that plays before the video that you really want to watch on YouTube. And then you can also have text such as SMS or P2P. It varies widely on the program that you use and the method that you use, somewhere between 12,000 and 100,000. It's more expensive, but the benefit, I feel like I read about 70% of texts are read within the first 30 minutes. as opposed to however many people fully acknowledge banner ads, Facebook ads. So it's a pinch more expensive, but it gets read. I personally would save this method. I'm not going to send it to my 73-year-old mom, but I would send it to my 23-year-old cousin. So it's something that you want to save for a particular demographic. You don't want to throw everything out to everyone. But also keep in mind, people need to know about you multiple ways, multiple methods. So again, these fees don't include the cost of the marketer. This is just the cost per impression. So you are also going to have to pay for the person designing your ads and creating the groups. And if you want analysis done on it, a lot of people will just submit ads and hit the road. I don't hit it and quit it. I see the ad, I look at numbers on a daily basis. I move stuff around to see the segments that are performing really well, which are not running, which are not performing well, and what do we need to do to fix this. So let's see, getting an email list. So the email list is important, first of all, for both the email and for the ads, because you can submit your own list of people to Facebook and to for running banner ads. So how do you get the list? So Nation Builder, if you use their web service, it's free. PDI specific to California, I don't think that they're outside of California yet. It's about 3 to 5 cents per record. OC Vote, I pulled this just because I thought everyone was just Orange County. You can go to that link to purchase the voter data. I do not remember exactly how much that one cost. I didn't put it down. But in addition to the email list, you can do email matching services. And so basically the list that you get from the voter database, it's not always the most thorough, the most complete. And so you could then send off names and addresses to email matching services and they can find that information. And there's also appendages that have like interest appendages. So these people are registered gun owners. These people are likely parents and whatnot, and do niche marketing based off of that. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Okay. So you can't, I'm just asking a question, and if you don't have the right answer, that's fine. You can't use the voter list that if you sign up as a candidate, the campaign gives you the voter list and it sends you a list.
Some districts do that.
Oh.
Not everyone.
Okay.
Some states charge, some states have it for free.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for answering that question, because that didn't make sense to me, because our state doesn't charge you if you're running.
It's funny, like I hate giving this answer, it depends. It's just my answer for everything. For when I teach digital analytics, my students will always ask, what about this? It depends. It depends. Like there's no straight answer. You're very lucky, in your case, it's free. So free and freemium digital resources. This is just there are a ton of free and freemium resources, and I could send my whole list to Karen. I have a ton built up. These are just some of my favorite ones. So Action Network, it's a petition platform, gathers names and contact information for potential supporters, donors. Basically, it's a petition empowering tool that individuals and groups use to organize for progressive causes. So basically, you can put up an ad, maybe about your opponent. The ad could say, sign this to send Jerry Jones to his retirement. Or maybe there's a cause. And your ad could say, sign this, to get hospitals the much needed gear. So not only do you know how the petitions that can demand action, such as getting hospitals the gear that they need, but he has a list of names and contact information for potential supporters. So you then know that Samantha Jones is very interested in this hospital issue. So you can then segment your list and sent an email just to people who signed this petition saying, hey, you know, I'm running for office and I'm going to make sure that hospitals have sufficient PPE, so donate to my campaign. And they now know that their interest of the hospital stuff is being met by someone running for office, and they're more likely to become engaged because you care about what they care about. So it's a nice little marketing technique to try to bring in a few extra dollars. Calendly, so you can schedule meetings with staff, for interviews with voters. It allows you to schedule meetings without the back and forth of email. So I had a situation scheduling something with someone in Nevada. She was like, okay, I'm available Tuesday, you know, from, I don't know, 10 to 3. And I was like, cool, 2 o'clock works best for me. But I didn't get back to her until like 5 hours later. And she was like, oh, the entire day got booked up. How about Wednesday? And just because of whatever was going on in life, by the time I got back to her, Wednesday was all booked up. But with Calendly, I could see the full calendar and I could just click on Thursday at 2 p.m. and that was free. And so you don't have to go back and forth. You don't have to wait. It's a free program, just plugs into your Google Calendar and it's all taken care of. Calltime.ai. So this is more of it's not free. You do have a little fee for it. Background of why I like this. So one of my first political jobs was with Clean Water Action in Washington, D.C. And we basically went door to door. I joke, I'm like, I was panhandling. But no, we went door to door asking for donations, talking about the needs for clean water, clean environment, blah, blah, blah. And it was determined that we needed to average 140 a night over the course of 5 days. So on some days you get 300, on some days you get 100, as long as you average 140 over 5 days. And the way that was decided is that the dude who started the organization back in the 70s would go out a couple times and whatever he averaged is what he said we should average. But the thing is that there were some entire neighborhoods where a group of 20 of us would come back with $0. And there are other entire neighborhoods that like we will come back with 1,000 per house. And so it's like, well, how do you target that? And so being the data person that I am back in 2003, I told them, I was like, look, I could put this all on a map, a precinct map, and I could say that this precinct has an average donation of $150 with, you know, 10 houses doing $1,000. This precinct has an average donation of $3. And the benefit of that is that we know how much to ask for and we're not shot down, feeling bad about ourselves if we come back with $3. And there's like so many wonderful benefits to it. And when I know how much to ask for, if I know that someone's more likely to give $300, I'm going to ask for that $300. But if the neighborhood is only willing to give $5 and I ask for $300, they might not even give the $5. And so what Calltime AI does is it links into actual donor databases, and you get a spreadsheet to see this person's likelihood and history of giving. So if you know that someone consistently has given $25 to candidates over the past, 5 years, then you know to ask for $25. If you know that someone has consistently given $500, you're not going to ask for $25. You're going to ask for $500. So that's the benefit of Calltime AI. It's predictive donations. It gives you the likelihood of voting. You can make a reasonable ask based on past data. And you could track the call notes and reminders. So it's a great program. You do have to pay for it, but it's Calltime on steroids, basically. So next we have Canva. So Canva is a web-based platform that makes creating custom graphics and reports really easy. There's a minimal learning curve. You don't need expensive programs like Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. You can do it all for free in Canva. There is a paid platform. I don't feel that the features are too much better, but for the most part, it's free. Like I said, it's web-based, custom graphics, reports. this is, here's a couple of ads that I did through Canva. They look nice, you know, it gets the job done. Email tracker. This is definitely one of my favorites. There's no more wondering if an email was read. With email tracker, you can get notifications every time an email is open. If you see in my screen up here, the one next to the little envelope, that means that someone read one of my emails. I did a demo, but it was on the wrong screen. And so for this last company that I'm trying to pull this up right now, for the last company, I looked bad because the number wasn't going to come up. So hopefully I have this on the right screen. I'm just going to try to open something right now. This is the one that I sent to my husband. And so right now that turns to 2 because I just opened an email. So, you know, when would you want to do this? Like maybe you send something to your campaign manager and they haven't responded in 2 days and they haven't acted on it. So you're like, well, wait, did they read it? Did they get it? And so this will tell you, oh, they didn't read it. And it could have been an absolute like just accident that they didn't see it. Maybe they had 10,000 emails in their box and that's fine. But it lets you know that it wasn't read. And if it's something important, you might want to like text them and be like, yo, did you get that email that I sent you? Or maybe you sent an article off to a newspaper, or you answered a reporter and you haven't heard back. And so it's just something that you can know whether or not someone read it. Or it's funny when you see that they read something 500 times, you're like, wait, did I say something that good or that bad? But you know that it's being read. So it's a Chrome extension, so it's not going to work on Internet Explorer. And it, like I said, it notifies you when someone opens an email, and it's specific to the browser. So when I said I did this a few weeks ago with a different class and was on the wrong browser, if I send it from, I have several versions of Google Chrome on my computer for various reasons. And so if I send it from one browser, and I test it on something else, like it's not going to come up. So you just need to keep that in mind. But most people aren't neurotic with 5 different versions of Chrome like I am. So next is Flipgrid, which is basically you can remotely create videos with supporters. So supporters can send videos in and you can have pretty cool content. Everyone needs content creation. You're always wondering, you know, what else do I put on my Facebook page? I have nothing going on right now. Well, if you create this video, you can, you know, develop more content pretty easily. Then you have Google Drive. If you're not using Google Drive, it's really great. It's cloud management. All your documents are stored. So you have documents, spreadsheets, presentations. This presentation right now is through Google Drive. And the best part is you can manage access for staff and volunteers, and everything is updated. So if I create something in Word on my computer, then I have to email it back and forth for all the volunteers and staff, and they might not have the most updated script. But if I do it in Google Drive, everyone has access to the most updated script. And I could say staff has access to editing, but volunteers only have access to viewing. So you can specify the level of access, and it's a great tool. It's totally free. Next is help a reporter out. And basically journalists need quotes, you need free press. And that's the purpose of help a reporter out. You can give expert quotes to reporters, which then translates into free press. You can present yourself as an expert. So I've used this a lot. You do have to be careful. Not everything that, basically what will happen is you'll sign up, they will send you a list of anything that they want to quote up. There's like hundreds of stuff a day. It can be something related to technology, related to marketing, related to politics, related to education. If you happen to be a teacher running for school board and you see something about education, whether it's about what content kids are learning, about using masks, about play-based education for kindergartners, and you're a teacher, you can then say, hey, as a teacher, here's my quote. And if they quote you, it translates to free press. So you can then put that on a website, on your website, on your campaign website to say, I am an expert. I'm just gonna pull up. Maybe if it pulls up. Starting to move this. In the news is where I have it for my website. So here are articles that I wrote for Campaigns and Elections magazine, but if you scroll down, here are a few times that I've been quoted in articles. And I did this all from Help a Reporter Out. I just submitted my quote and I was chosen for the articles. And so you can have that section in your website for news, and it looks great because you are an expert source. People rely on you. And that tells voters, that tells endorsers that you're worthy of their attention. Now, there are other ways you can do it. You can do a letter to the editor. You can reach out to a local journalist. If you're an expert in a particular field and there's a periodical on that field, you can do like I did and write a couple articles. I wrote articles for Campaigns and Election magazine. So that tells potential clients that, hey, I'm an expert. So if there's a online magazine about education and you're running for school board, you can write a piece on something that you did and then put that on your website. And it's free press. You look good. Outreach circles, another really cool tool. It's relational organizing for peer-to-peer texting. So basically texts come from the user's own phone number. You could text hundreds of contacts in minutes saying, hey, you know, come out and support such and such candidate. Let's get everyone to vote. Slack, you know, teamwork can be hard and messy and complicated. And if you're still living in the world of COVID, it's hard to do it when you're not all together. So Slack provides a easy platform to keep everything organized. You can organize your teamwork, you can create groups, you can manage tasks, and get it all together. So wrap up, we're for the most part done. Any questions on the tools? Y'all good? Cool.
Mindy,
So, oh, sorry.
after your wrap up, you wrote a very powerful article for Campaigns and Elections about emails, and I think that the women here could benefit from the content of that article. If you could talk about that after your wrap up.
Yeah, definitely. So we're getting close to the end. Your job is to meet people, to not necessarily shake hands, but you want to meet people, you want to raise money, speak at events, you want to get in the news, meet people online, pizza online, what have you. So you don't have time, like I said, to learn how to do the coding, the messaging, the web design, Google Ads, and all that jazz. So when hiring, think about these things in terms of what you want in your consultants. You know, does the person have web experience? Does the person have digital experience? Do you like their designs? Can they do design that you like? Do they explain why a particular concept is important? You might like something, but they say, you know what, we actually need to focus more on this. And here's the reason why, because you want someone who could explain everything to you. Can they run multiple ad channels? Can they create the graphics for your ads? When they create the ads, are they in and out, or do they check the numbers regularly, modify the ads to maximize your exposure? Now, this last part is important. As I said before, when I run ads, I run data analysis, which segments are working well, which cost too much, should we move money around? For my judicial races, like I said, it doesn't matter who we get votes for. In California, it's nonpartisan. And for one of my candidates, they performed better with Republicans than with Democrats. So I'm going to spend more money on advertising to the Republicans. Something really interesting, one of my candidates, the logo is red and blue. And I had hypothesized that Republicans will perform higher. They'll have a higher click-through rate with the red ads, and Democrats will have a higher click-through rate with blue ads. And while that was true for the Democrats and Hispanics had like a 99% confidence of clicking on the blue ad. The Republicans also had I think it was a 90% confidence of clicking more with the blue ad than the red ad. And so I was like, I'm wrong, but I'm glad I tested it, because now I know for sure who should get which ad. So, you know, I'm testing to see which races are more likely to click on ads. Do they like ads saying gang homicide prosecutor versus justice for all? I'm testing everything. And this is something you're really going to want to focus with, so that you send the right message and the right design to the right demographic. Let's see. So in other cases, I saw that running ads to particular zip codes just cost too much money. So I took that money and spent that money in other zip codes that don't cost as much. Because again, as long as I get the votes for judicial races, it doesn't matter what zip codes they come from. It doesn't matter what party they come from. So on your own, you have some assignments. You're going to research URLs if you don't have one yet. You're going to plan out what digital assets you have already. So your images, your issue pieces, about info, etc. You're going to improve your email draft. So with longer classes, I did have my students write emails in class. So you're going to work on an email draft on your own. You're going to plan a team of digital ambassadors, and you're going to sign up for Help a Reporter Out. So yeah, so any questions? And then I'll talk about my article in a minute. We're good? Cool. So the article that I had written, giving readers what they want. This is the thing. You don't want to burn through your email list. You want to keep people coming back. And so this association that I was with a while back in DC, we had like 10 different conferences, a bunch of other events in addition to the conferences, and people were unsubscribing from our email list like crazy. And so how do you market to people when they're unsubscribing? Well, we also had a newsletter, and our newsletter never had unsubscribes. And so I decided to, we had a newsletter about something that was going on in Congress. And at the bottom of the newsletter, I said, P.S. we're talking about this event at our next conference. We're talking about this legislation at our next conference. And it was the highest conference registration from an email. And so I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to continue testing this. And so I threw that into the mix of email designs, and every single year every single conference, having this news piece gave us the highest amount of registrations. And so you want to think about, like, why are you signing up for email lists? Is it because you want to be marketed to, or is it because you want information? We all want information. We don't want to pay. We don't want to be marketed to. We want information. And so when you write your emails, you want to make sure that you're always giving good information that your readers are going to feel that they're going to miss out on if they unsubscribe. So if your email is simply send me money, they're going to unsubscribe. If you're talking about the 10 things you're going to do, that 10 is a lot. If you're talking about the 5 things you're going to do in office, even if you're asking for money, they're more likely going to stay involved. They're going to stay on your email list because they still want to know what you're going to do for office, and they'll suck it up and deal with you asking for money. So this article is on my website under in the news. So if you want to read it, go there. And just keep that in mind when you're writing your emails. So how's everyone doing? Last minute questions? Yeah.
So this article is on what website? I'm sorry.
So my website is runwith.digital.
Maybe you can put it in the chat,
Oh yeah.
the link in the chat. And the link to your, the web address of your website?
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else? Cool. Well, for those of you running for office, this June in California, it's getting close. If you need digital, feel free to hit me up. Here,
So the candidates that are running now that we have in this training, their election is not until November.
oh, okay, so there's still time for
Local
that.
candidates do not have, school board and city council races do not have primaries. County races do, but we don't have county races right now.
Cool. All right, so we do have plenty of time then for November. And Brenda Short, definitely hit me up because I told you Minnesota is my heart. So I always root for Minnesota. If my teams aren't playing a particular sport, it's always Minnesota for me. So definitely hit me up. Awesome. Well, it's great talking with all of you. I hope you got some great information. You have my website, you have my email. If you want to talk about numbers, if you want to talk strategy, please let me know what's up.
That was great information. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, no problem.